So, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics fucking podcast. And I'm pretty fucking pumped to be here. And first of all, something that I just want to tell you. See this? This is Marketing by Seth Godin. I actually bought the book. I have been talking about it actually before. I'm pretty happy that it now arrived. It took, I think, 2 days actually, through Amazon. I think it's just really amazing. They handle it so quickly, and if there is a problem, you can always just send it back and whatever. And this is just, it's just a good service. And you can definitely see, why this company is just so big and why it got so big, because it is actually doing a lot of things right. About the book, I've just, looked at it. I think the cover is great, by the way. Something that bothers me maybe is the font inside of the book. It's a little bit too big at my point of view. It's it's quite big, and I'm pretty used, maybe I'm just used to just really, really small fonts, but the design itself in terms of the book is quite great. There's a lot of there's a lot of space. It's not like the font is, or the type is everywhere and you can't actually see nothing. But I hope it is a good book. I will just totally tell you if I've gone through it. And I think it just looks great. Also, in terms of the color, I'm happy with it. And this is actually something because a colleague told me or my whole class that he actually didn't really enjoy one book because the type was so big that it actually seemed to be a fucking poster. And this is something I can totally feel, because this is actually something that might only just disappoint you or just kind of fuck with you if you have just, a little education in this certain space, or if you just, handle with type and with typefaces and with fonts all the time. I think therefore you just, somehow create a sense of, sensibility in terms of fonts and of design as well. Which can definitely be in such a way a pretty negative point if you just, look at it in this way. But to not talk about this the whole fucking time, I'm going to talk about Feeling Good by David D. Burns. And as you can see, I'm actually not on paulminus.com website or on the powermoves.com website. I'm actually on the samuelthomasdavis.com website, which is, practically the website I quite started with, going through all the books they have. And I actually before was just thinking about actually going through another marketing book. But because I'm actually going through one, or will go through one on myself, I do not know if this was or wouldn't be too much for me. And I do not actually want you to be just kind of feeling it, that I'm actually not pretty much willing to go through a book, because this is also something that's, not fucking good. But I've seen, Feeling Good seems to be quite okay. Seems to be some good stuff in it. It's not too long, it's not too short, and they seem to be, pretty great suggestions and pretty great insights in it. And I do hope that I might go through it in actually 2 episodes, because I know myself, and I just wanted to say, and I've thought about before the episode, if I actually can go through it just, in 1 episode. But I think, no, this is not quite possible for me, because I'm always taking such a lot of time. I do actually want to go through Notes from a Friend by Anthony Robbins, which is actually Tony Robbins. And because he recommends Awaken the Giant Within, also by Tony Robbins, and The Happiness Advantage and Notes from a Friend, which I think all 3 of them are just, pretty great books. The Happiness Advantage, I haven't read it actually, only in terms of the summary, and the summary was quite great if I remember. But yeah, so Feeling Good by David D. Burns, MD. Is MD actually some kind of doctor or some doctor degree or something? I don't actually know. MD degree. Medical degree. Okay, this would have made sense. So the book in 3 sentences. All your moods are created by your thoughts. Totally makes sense. When you're depressed, your thoughts are dominated by a pervasive negativity, and the negative thoughts which cause your depression nearly always contain gross cognitive distortions. Does this mean, okay, are there some kind of distorting your just kind of how your view your side actually, how you just see things, how you think about things. I'm pretty fucking looking forward for this one, because I think it's quite actually a good one. But I shouldn't be just too too hoping for it, because if it's then bad at the end, I will just be more disappointed than before. So the 5 big ideas. Every bad feeling you have is a result of your distorted negative thinking. The second one is, your thoughts create your emotions, therefore your emotions cannot prove that your thoughts are accurate. Okay. The third one is, every bad feeling you have is the result of your distorted negative thinking. The fourth one is, your feelings result from the meaning you give to the event, not from the event itself. And this is actually something that Tony Robbins actually emphasizes quite a lot as well. And I think it's totally true, and it makes sense as well. So, it's always just in terms of how you think about things. But yeah. So this is actually something that Tony Robbins also emphasizes a lot on, which is, at my point of view, totally true, because this just makes sense. You're just giving certain things in certain situations a meaning. If it's the thing is if something is happening to your spouse or to some people that are quite near to you, you just get hurt a lot more, because these people are just they have a lot of meaning in your life, and you gave them a lot of meaning in your life. And this does just then make sense for me, that everything is quite about meaning. And the thing is, Tony says, okay, you can just some kind of change it, and you can just some kind of do it, and but I quite think, okay, this is some sort of yes and no. So giving meaning is something that happens subconsciously as well. But I do think, on the other hand, that you can just really kind of interfere this kind of progress or process actually, and kind of change it up a little. I think there's always a way we can consciously do some things. And the fifth and last one is, you are wrong in your belief that suicide is the only solution or the best solution to your problem. And this is something Tony Robbins also talks quite a lot about, and I think he is just a really great explanation for why people actually commit suicide. And he always says that the people who are committing suicide actually do not kind of connect as much pain with dying so they do not connect as much pain with dying than actually living. So therefore they just mean that living is more painful than actually dying. And this is something that suicidal people just think. And this is also something where you just, what you just have to change about them. Or you have to just, kind of make them some kind of figure it out themselves, but not really, but just tell them and make it clear for them that it is actually their thing, that their life is something precious, and they only have one fucking life in their life. Or, probably, who knows. So let's go on with the actual summary, the feeling good summary. The first principle of cognitive therapy actually, is that all your moods are created by your cognitions or thoughts. The second principle is that when you are feeling depressed, your thoughts are dominated by a pervasive negativity. The third principle is substantial philosophical and therapeutic importance. Is of substantial philosophical and therapeutic importance. Our research has documented that the negative thoughts which cause your emotion turmoil, how do I actually say it? Turmoil, nearly always contain gross distortion. And I'm actually pretty looking forward to what they mean by gross distortion. Every bad feeling you have is a result of your distorted negative thinking, and every time you feel depressed about something, try to identify a corresponding negative thought you had just prior to and during the depression, because these thoughts have actually created your bad mood. By learning to restructure them, you can change your mood. So I think this is important, so therefore I'm going to just repeat it again. Every time you feel depressed about something, try to identify a corresponding negative thought you had just prior to and during the depression. depression actually. Because these thoughts have actually created your bad mood. By learning to reconstruct them, you can change your mood. And I think this makes sense. We just create patterns for ourselves, just some kind of thought patterns. The thing is, the whole pattern thing, I've heard it once, and I think it makes sense, and I'm just quite trying to explain it right now. For example, you're doing something very specific. You're I don't know, you're just doing something, and this certain thing gets associated with, pain and with, being not really happy in your brain. This is something your brain just maybe because something happened once and therefore it just got really burned into your brain. This is just something that your brain kind of associates with this certain situation. The thing is, because your brain associates this certain thing with it, or the negative feelings with it, every single time when you're doing this certain thing, you will have a bad feeling, or you will just, feel not good, because you're just, your brain is just wired to that. The thing is, how to change is that you actually kind of think about it differently, or just change up this pattern. And this is something that's, way easier than just, actually doing it. But, or it sounds way easier than actually doing it. But I think it's actually always good to ask yourself questions. Maybe, okay, you're just, let's get a quick example, I don't know. Something that might concern people, or might just let people feel not good. I don't know. People in school. When someone goes into school and they some kind of associate pain with school, they immediately just feel bad in school, whatever they're doing. This is just a fact. Okay, this is just the pattern. And therefore, just going in school and maybe not thinking about, okay, it is such a bad place, or, I don't like the people. Maybe some kind of changing the pattern up, or thinking about it kind of differently, or getting to new friends, or getting to new people in this area or in the school, that you actually just change this pattern up and change this thought up, or this association, or this wired thing that your brain actually thinks, okay, this is actually not wired to pain, but it's rather wired to having friends and having fun and doing this and that and whatever. I hope I kind of explained what I thought. During my explanation, I kind of thought as well, okay, this doesn't make too much sense, but I hope you got something out of it. I'm not quite educated in this space. I just know a lot of self-help books. I know a lot about, why people think certain things, or why I just think about certain things, or think certain things. And therefore I just assume a lot, and therefore I just think a lot about, what other people might be thinking as well. But I think actually going through all these self-help summaries actually helped me with just some kind of creating a new and happier life for myself, and actually kind of knowing and quite, trying to understand what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and how I can change this up so that I'm not feeling, when it's bad, that I'm just not feeling bad anymore. But yeah. So cognitive distortions, a complete list. Note from Sam: to learn more about cognitive distortion and how to overcome them, read this article. So the author of this article actually just linked an article there, which should be more about cognitive distortion. Pretty interesting. So all or nothing thinking, and this refers to your tendency to evaluate your personal qualities in extreme black or white categories. All or nothing thinking forms the basis for perfectionism. It causes you to fear any mistake or imperfection, because you will then see yourself as complete loser, and you will feel inadequate and worthless. The technical name for this type of perceptual error is dichotomous thinking. And this is actually something that I do quite see when I'm just not looking at people, but when I just deal with other people, that a lot of people just see it as really black or white, or just in the extremes. I myself, I'm a person, I'm just really living in the extremes. I'm either just eating healthy or not eating healthy. There's nothing in between, nothing like, okay, I will just eat something that's not that good for my body once. There is not something like this. So especially not consciously, if some people just, put some things in my food because, for example, my mother, which I'm not assuming, but just thinking about it, this is something I do not just know. But I'm just very, very in the extremes, The same thing with what I'm doing right now. I started immediately. That's not quite sure, because I actually started with the Instagram channel or Instagram page, which wasn't that successful and wasn't that well enough, so I didn't put too much time into it. But as I pretty much recognized what what I could do, I really went into the extreme and just made the podcast, made a YouTube video every single day, and maybe even twice, and so on and so on and so on. So this is something that this is just me. But this is in a negative way. So I think about myself in terms of this in a positive way, because this actually just helped me to kind of be me. And but if you rather think, okay, I'm a complete loser or I'm winner and there's nothing between, the chances that you're just either one of these is just 50-50, and that's way too high. If you're just fucking one simple thing up, you're definitely just kind of really feeling bad, and this shouldn't be the case. There are a lot of variables, and there's a lot between bad and good. There's some kind of in between, there's some kind of good, and there's some kind of bad, but nothing of them all is actually bad, because if you fail at something, this is just another way to learn. And this is definitely something a lot of people, especially through school, do not actually know or do not actually quite think about, because in school, it's either you fail quite or you win. This is the exact same thing. And if you win, this is totally bad, because you might have to just, do this class again because you failed and whatever. And this is bad. And therefore, people in, real life, let's say like real life in school isn't real life, but people like in the, economy or, whatever they're doing as a job, they also might feel like, okay, if I'm doing something wrong, this is completely wrong and will never be solved again. And this is, ever written in my life so such dumb things, which doesn't make any sense. So first of all, failing, as I said, is just actually something good because you learn through them. So why or how could you learn just instead? And actually, you can always just change it up, most of the time. Sometimes you might fuck it up completely and then you can't change the thing itself, but you can change what or how you're thinking about it. Overgeneralization. This is definitely something that pisses me on so tremendously, especially on Instagram, but I do just looking forward what they talk about or what they say. So you arbitrarily conclude that one thing that happened to you once will occur over and over again, will multiply like the jack of spades. Spades? What the fuck? What's that? I don't know. So the pain of rejection is generated almost entirely from overgeneralization. This makes sense. Mental filter. You pick out a negative detail in any situation and dwell on it exclusively, thus perceiving that the whole situation is negative. The technical name for this process is selective abstraction. And this is actually something a lot of people quite do. I don't know, it's because of, the world we're living in, even, or actually the people shouldn't, because I'm living in the first world. I'm not just dealing with having no water or having no food or having no clothes. I have everything. And this is something I should and am grateful for. And this is something that I'm just really grateful for. But this is actually something not all of the people are grateful for. So I think, at my point of view, all these poor or third world country people may think about us, okay, you're so happy and whatever, but it's actually not. It's actually not the thing, which is just making me a little bit sad, because we have everything. I have everything. I do not need to be rich even. What should I do with it? I'm just a person who is just not kind of using their money. So what would I use my millions for? Maybe even for donating. This would actually be something that I would like. And this is something that actually, because I always think and I always talk about that people who are actually not donating right now with, the 100th of their wealth right now, which, might be, in terms of me, €1 or something, to be really honest, I think. But if you're just doing it not right now, if you're just not rich or not wealthy or whatever, and if you haven't just that much money right now, you will never do it when you're rich as well. So why won't you just donate a little bit of your wealth or of the money you're having right now? You will totally feel good through it, or buy it, and it will totally help someone out there, which, or who doesn't have anything or just way less than you're having right now. But this is actually, I think, really the case. The people that are now donating actually have always been donating, or just, had always just have the mindset of it. It doesn't necessarily to be the case that they actually donated the money, but they thought about it, and they actually thought about doing it and just made the plans for later doing it on, because I don't know how all the rich people are doing it, so I'm just assuming. And disqualifying the positive. An even more spectacular mental illusion is the persistent tendency of some depressed individuals to transform neutral or even positive experiences into negative ones, disqualifying the positive one of the most destructive forms of cognitive. So disqualifying the positive is one of the most destructive forms of cognitive distortion. And this actually makes sense, and I think this is just really something to just not laugh about, because this is something that's very extreme at my point of view. If you just can't see, if you can't really see any positive thing in your entire life, in your entire day, in the entire lifetime, you're just, doing whatever you're doing, you can't see anything positive or not even anything neutral. I think this just really fucks with you, and I think I'm always thinking about okay, if the people actually realize everything is quite soft, but I don't think this is so easy, I'm just saying it or I'm just thinking about it. I think there is just more into depressed people or people who are just not feeling good mentally, that they actually like that they are actually not seeing the actual real world in the way it is actually. Jumping to conclusions. You arbitrarily jump to a negative conclusion that is not justified by the facts or the situation. By the facts of the situation. Two examples of jumping to conclusions are mind reading and the fortune teller error. So mind reading, you make the assumption that other people are looking down on you, and you're so convinced about this that you don't even bother to check it out. Yeah. This is actually something that could fuck with your mind as well. And the fortune teller, okay, I now understand. So you imagine that something bad is about to happen, and you take this prediction as a fact, even though it is unrealistic. This is something that actually doesn't seem too crazy or something. This actually seems to be quite normal, or quite just a lot of people are doing this, but if you just maybe exclude the unrealistic stuff. Magnification. Magnification commonly occurs when you look at your own errors, fears, or imperfections and exaggerate their importance. My God, I made a mistake. How terrible, how awful. The world will spread like wildfire. The word will spread like wildfire. My reputation is ruined. This has also been called catastrophizing, because you turn commonplace negative events into nightmarish monsters. I just really feel that these are just really just, quite interesting, first of all, things, and also quite things you can learn about. And I quite think okay, if anybody's, hearing this that might have any problems, or just might know somebody that has problems, it, might even help them, and or just, let them be able to help others to really kind of realize what they're going through. Because, as I said, I think actually realize and actually just, being conscious about, why you're thinking certain things, that you're thinking certain things, or you're having certain thought patterns that are actually just some kind of, written down like this or like these, is fucking important. I think this is one of the first, I just assume, I don't know actually, but I think this could actually be one of the first steps to actually feeling better and just, getting used to, or getting just, a little bit clearer with yourself. So minimization, you inappropriately shrink things until they appear tiny, your own desirable qualities or the other fellow's imperfections. This is also called the binocular trick. This is actually something you see, I think, pretty commonly in just society. A lot of people maybe even or only in my space, they just, think about, okay, yeah, if somebody tells them a compliment, or just telling them, okay, you just did that very great, and they already say, or they also say, or just then quite say, yeah, no, I didn't just do it that well and whatever, even though maybe they even know, okay, this is actually this is actually what I did, and I'm proud of this, even though a lot of people say like, okay, no, this is not something I'm so proud of, and whatever, you know what I mean. But I think this is, what I just talked about is quite more, in, how should I say, in just mental okay people, and the minimization is really something that just also fucks with your life and with your health and mental health, and with your head as well. So this is something that I think is quite the thing. They're not just thinking about like, okay, they only just want to tell people that they are so tiny in terms of their confidence or whatever, but they actually think it is. So the emotional reasoning, you take your emotions as evidence for the truth. Your logic, I feel like a dad, therefore I am a dad. This kind of reasoning is misleading because your feelings reflect your thoughts and beliefs. And I'm always thinking, if I either know somebody who is just, pretty much thinking like this, or even if I am thinking like this. And I think this really just could help you, as I said. So should statements, you try to motivate yourself by saying, I should do this, or I must do that. Labeling and mislabeling. Personal labeling means creating a complete negative self-image based on your errors. Mislabeling involves describing an event with words that are inaccurate and emotionally heavily loaded. Personalization. This distortion is the mother of guilt. You assume responsibility for a negative event when there is no basis for doing so. Your thoughts create your emotions, therefore your emotions cannot prove that your thoughts are accurate. Yeah, that's totally true. And this doesn't mean, okay, only because it's, one way around, it doesn't mean it's the other way around as well. It totally makes sense for me. If you're just really thinking like, okay, I'm shitty, I'm bad, I'm whatever, and you're constantly doing it all the fucking time, the whole day long, your whole life long, I just feel like, you're just also feeling, pretty bad about yourself, and pretty like, okay, you're actually dumb, or you're actually shit, or you're actually, I don't know, the worst person in the fucking world. But that doesn't mean that your thinking is actually right about yourself, only because you're feeling a certain way because you're thinking like this. Doesn't have to be right. Dr. Aaron Beck said a depressed self-image can be characterized by the 4 Ds. You feel defeated, defective, deserted, and deprived. What is actually deprived? Okay. So at the bottom line, only your own sense of self-worth determines how you feel. Yes, makes sense. Even though, the point is, if, maybe you're just giving some people the opportunity or really the power to just kind of control your emotions, and you're kind of really just, you need them to be happy, or you need them to be just loved, or you need them to be whatever. And, or you need them to feel good, or you need them to just feel like you have some kind of a worth. And this makes sense that you do at these certain times and time points feel good about yourself and feel good about what you're doing and who you are and whatever. But it also makes sense that you actually should just be happy with yourself as well. So definitely you should be, but I'm just thinking about, okay, so I only just wanted to see, okay, if actually, and I do just kind of said quite a difference about what this is, or what this actually, this paragraph says, which, seems to be true for me at least. So I quite feel like, okay, it actually makes sense that people let you feel, worth a lot more, even though it's not you or you that is feeling about you, but rather the people just let you feel in this way. So whatever. Whatever. Specific methods for boosting self-esteem. Is this actually, should I? Yes, I should. So specific methods for boosting self-esteem. Talk back to that internal critic totally true, and totally asking yourself, if this internal critic says you're better at this and you will never be able to do this, ask them why. Why would I never be able to do this? Why am I bad? And even though he might say it because you failed once, this is complete shit. And this is then something as well, at my point of view at least, this is something you should realize, or you have to realize. Okay, this is not actually true. That only because you made one thing, you did a mistake once, it doesn't mean that you will always make a mistake, or this whole thing is completely fucked and it will never change, or some things like that. It doesn't mean that. But yeah. And the second one is train yourself to recognize and write down the self-critical thoughts as they go through your mind. This is actually, I think, quite the first thing you should do. And not like I said it, but actually just seeing, okay, you are actually just thinking about yourself or thinking about something in your mind in a critical way, or in a self-critical way. Being critical, or not critical, but it's not critical. I think it's skeptical. It's more skeptical. And, being a little bit skeptical is, yeah, I don't know. I would rather say skeptical about certain things, especially reading on the internet or reading in books even. It's always good to have your brain and your own thoughts, and to really just evaluate the things you're reading and you're learning and whatever. And always ask yourself, could this be true? Could this be actually the thing? Could this actually be something that's, right or whatever? Learn why these thoughts are distorted, which just means, okay, you should actually put them into these certain things they pointed out before, and actually see, okay, does this fit in this certain category or in this certain point they made? And then go on to the next and the next and the next. And if you see, okay, everything is okay. And if you see, okay, this is stuck in that, then actually just think about it, why it might be like this, because they actually some kind explain it, and then maybe you even are kind of just feeling better about yourself already. The fourth one is practice talking back to them so as to develop a more realistic self-evaluation system. This makes sense, talking back, asking questions, like I said, and this is actually also one of the reasons why I think that motivational speeches are very important and very good to just listen to, because you really create the system in your brain subconsciously that you are worth something, that you have the motivation to do X, that you can do that you are not a bad person, that whatever they talk about these motivational speeches, there are a lot of them, and there are a lot of topics they're talking about in them. So therefore, I think there should be something for everyone in these speeches, especially from Les Brown and Zig Ziglar or Norman Vincent Lee or Eric Thompson or Eric Thomas actually. I always said Thompson, but he's actually called Thomas. But yeah, the triple column technique, this should be the last one. There you can see, actually I hope you can see it. The first column is actually automatic thought. The second one is cognitive distortion. And the third one is rational response. Ask yourself, what thoughts are going through my mind right now? What am I saying to myself, and why is this upsetting me? And when you are down on yourself, you might find it helpful to ask what you actually mean when you try to define your true identity with a negative label, such as a fool, a shame, a stupid dope, etc. Once you begin to pick these destructive labels apart, you will find they are arbitrary and meaningless. They actually cloud the issue, creating confusion and despair. Once rid of them, you can define a copy or cope with any real problem that exists. I think it's great that I point out a real problem, because actually this just means, okay, you're just creating artificial or synthetic problems for yourself, which means for me quite that, we are talking or, thinking in a negative way about us, that so that we actually kind of think like, okay, this is actually the truth, even though this is just something that's, our head says, something that we subconsciously tell us, and so on. But I just really suggest to go through just a lot of motivational speeches, listening to them over and over again. If you just really, if you really see that you are just some kind of depressed, or you are not feeling good about yourself, and all these things, that tremendously helped me, and in my point of view at least, kind of created a base for who I am right now, and I'm fucking happy with me. I know my qualities, I know what I'm shit at, and that's definitely spelling. I can't spell for shit. I can't do it in German. I'm not pretty much able to do it in English as well, maybe. But actually in English it's doing a little bit better because maybe I just like the language more, which is actually the total thought about, okay, I do not like my mother tongue as well as a speech or a language that I just have been learning for a few years. Okay, actually 8 years, but yeah. So I think, and I hope you got something out of this. But yeah. So with that being said, I wish you a wonderful day or night, and yeah, the best happiness. Happiness is fucking important. Go for happiness, but also success, wealth, health, and I hope you're giving back something, because this is also the way to go. And do not forget about your legacy. Your legacy is fucking important. At least, I think about it as important. And I'll see you the next time. I see you.